us if we need to get on with it. There may be a valid reason, but the protocol is to actually email me now through this. Okay, so, hey. Yes. Email. Like, how do you have it? Where is it? Like, I did it. Oh, okay. What's that? You can put out some advice. It's free. Pardon? Can you do this? Yeah, you can do however you wish. Okay.
I got off on question 9 before I fell asleep on my desk, so that's a no.
Just tell me what you've done. How many are there? 10 questions? Yes. Yes, so hand it in. If it's in your book and you need a book for today, just make sure you hand it in on your way out, okay?
It's not here.
Yep, it's on my iPad.
Do you have any problem with emailing?
Yeah, the school Wi-Fi is really bad here.
I see. What have you got, an iPad?
Yeah.
So no USB. Can you email it tonight?
Yep.
And Jenny, don't worry about the homework. You've done it. Okay. Just tell you and otherwise.
How did you break that?
That's not even. What's it? Oh no, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not even. If I finish that laser, your eyebrows will your head shakes. Your ears one. So is my nose. Yeah, I don't have a big nose. I look like a big nose.
Okay, you have to be ready for this. We're going to go through a lot of essays into this. Are you ready? Ready?
Yes, you know.
You want to begin?
Yeah.
Hang on. Just so you really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, but. So the heading 6, essay writing. This is one of the really important classes to see here. So if you have a friend that's not here, so you can make notes for them. While we are preparing for our assessment tasks, we're also thinking about how to make sure we're writing a good essay. You may have been taught how to write an essay before. Don't abandon that knowledge, but try and put it together with what I'm offering you today. I may say things that are different, and there's always going to be more than one way to do things, so just make sure you know that. Okay, so the question for your assessment task is, I'm going to put it up on the board so that we all keep it in mind. Gary's house presents the audience. You don't need to write it anywhere. I'm just putting it on the board so that you know what we're preparing for. With a powerful exploration of the importance of relationships. How does Oswald achieve this? And so that's on there. Also, what you need to consider is the coursework essay, and I'm going to put both up because then you can see what's similar and what's different. Identify one interesting character represented Gary's house. As Oswald used dramatic technique to shape your response to the character and for ideas of relationship. What we need to start with so that we don't do double work is we need to identify what's similar between those two questions, because this is your coursework and this is your assessment. You have to do both. So identify one interesting character represented in Gary's house. That's different. But how does Oswald use dramatic techniques to shape your response to the idea of relationships?
Wait, are there two there, or is it just the one question?
That's one. That's two.
But the coursework is only the one question.
Yes.
What's the difference between dramatic techniques and rhetoric?
Good question. They're dramatic. So, like, they're particular to a drama. So you wouldn't have stage direction, for example, in a poem. What's the main dramatic technique in Gary's house? And as included in the title. The house. That. So you can link the house to Gary, and you can link the house of Dave to Dave, and talk about either of those characters. And you can even talk about the house in relation to Christine as well. So, that is the same as that. So what is the key idea and the key theme in both of the questions? Relationship. So I just wanted to point that out to you, because that way you can kind of formulate your thinking about how you will approach both of them, so you are not wasting your time. So that the stuff that you use for that can be directly used for that. Okay? So, essay writing. Good essays are like tasty burgers. What you have is the introduction, which is your top bun. Sorry for vegetarian. The meat, which is the good stuff. Paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and then the conclusion. So that's the basic structure of an essay. You want to write that down. You don't have to draw the burger. Just that there's introduction, about 3 paragraphs, and then a conclusion. Question? Serious or conservative? I'm going to go through each part of the burger and show you what those things are made up of. You need a minimum of 3 paragraphs. Yeah, you could use 4 or 4. Yes.
Where's the sauce?
Yeah, this is a really meaty burger. Yes.
What's the cheese?
The cheese is the thesis. I just made that up then, but that works. Hold it all together. Okay.
No.
So, the top one is the introduction. What I would like you to do is make sure you write the yellow, okay? So just make sure you write the yellow. So the introduction. Firstly, you need to recognize this question including the verb. You need to figure out what is the question asking you to do. I will show you the verb in both of these. And it's the same one. It's asking us to figure out how. So if the verb was to what extent, then you might argue, well, to considerable extent. If the verb is how, then you're probably going to answer with the things that prove the question, as in the dramatic technique. That's pretty much the answer to the how, and it's in the question itself. Secondly, you need to introduce your thesis. Can you just put up your hand if anyone's ever taught you how to write a thesis or introduced a thesis before? A thesis, it's actually a thesis statement. That's the full length of the word, but in stage 6, we just shorten it to thesis. A thesis at uni, yes, is like 5,000 word plus paper. For us, what it is our main argument. It's our driving force. In debating, they use it, and it's called something I can't remember. Yes, it's the model. It's what is your main point that you're going to prove by then developing on, well, my first speaker is going to say this, my second and third, and they're all going to prove my main driving point. Alright? So, your thesis is therefore kind of like repeated like an advertising jingle or a slogan throughout your essay. That if you strongly believe that the house is the main dramatic technique that Oswald uses to show the breakdown and the building of relationships, that's your thesis. And it would start something like, Oswald cleverly uses the dramatic technique of set design to highlight the building and destruction of relationships in the play. That's your thesis. It's a one sentence main argument that you then prove, you take the whole essay to prove. And in the previous example, I know I just made it up then, but it is like the cheese. It's supposed to like goo down into the rest of your burger and hold it all together, okay? So that the whole thing doesn't fall apart. You need to establish your main points. So firstly, you've recognized the verb. Secondly, you've established your thesis. And then thirdly, you say, I'm going to talk about these three main points. And they relate to the meat. They relate to the paragraphs. And then you need to mention the text. I know that does seem a bit obvious, but people forget to do it. They get carried away with the ideas and Oswald and this and that, and they forget to say, in Gary's house. And when you're writing essays with more than one text, which you will learn to do by the end of the year, you will say, in Gary's house and Robocop, this idea is proved. Okay, you're comparing two texts. It will be a really weird comparative study, but I'm sure you can do it. So your paragraphs are the meat. Can you see that from the back of the right? You can change the colour if you like. Yeah? No? Just write the red in this example. So begin your paragraphs with a topic sentence. Remember how we did the sexy paragraphs? That's what this relates to. So your S is for statement, and that is your topic sentence. The topic sentence needs to relate to the question. You can't just start off by saying, in Gary's house, Oswald is very effective at showing the breaking of the cycle. That's got nothing to do with the question. So tell me why. Why is breaking the cycle got to do with relationships or whatever? Which it does, but you've got to say it in the statement. It has to relate to the question. You should have the key words from the question in your statement. Support each statement with several examples using quotes and techniques and specific details from the text. If you don't have quotes and you don't have techniques, you probably won't get more than 7 out of 15. So you need they're the way that you're proving your opinion. 15 or 20, I'm not sure. It should say on the marker. Yeah, it's out of 20. So in that same example, you'd be lucky to get 10 out of 20 if you don't have quotes or techniques. Quotations should be embedded, which means that you don't just go, Oswald was very effective in using the house, stop, and then you begin the next sentence with a quote. You actually need to embed that quote into the whole statement of the sentence. You'll get better at that, but see if you can process that now. You then consider the writer's purpose, you incorporate contextual information, you relate to the text, its ideas and the characters. Sometimes it's helpful just to stop and think and go, well, why is it worth studying? Because if you can answer that question, why it's worth studying, even if you think, oh, it's boring, or if you think that the characters aren't believable, or even if you have a very negative perception of the text, I'm sure that you can find one thing, one moment that makes it worth studying, that you can take a lesson away from. Okay, so if you ask that of any text, why is it worth studying, then you should be able to come up with a good evaluation or judgment on the text. And that will help you then, which is the last point, evaluate the effectiveness of the text. Give people a bit more time to write. Any questions so far? I know that I am giving you a lot of information here, and I could see if it's not already up on the wiki. You can go back and have another look at it, go back to your notes. Keep it there when you're writing your essay and check it off like this. The other thing is I don't expect you to write a perfect essay the first time. It takes 2 years to learn to write a good HSC Stage 6 essay, and that's the point of all your assessment tasks, is you just get better and better and better at writing a good essay. It's a very big ego too. I have a rule with burgers, like if I'm actually purchasing a burger at a shop, I don't have more than one meat, like type of meat. Like that breaks my rule. I couldn't do bacon and the same thing. I know. Controversial. Oh, yeah.
Bacon, chicken, and bacon all in one burger. That's Mike and pork.
Give us your experience as an employee of McDonald's.
Well, I'll make that tonight and I'll eat it and I'll tell you what it's like.
No, writing is the same now.
It doesn't even look like me.
It does look.
It does not.
It does, sort of.
Okay, in conclusion, the essay finishes with the bottom line. See what I did there? Okay, your conclusion should be 4 sentences at minimum. Sometimes people have trouble with the conclusion because they think they have already said it all. You need to make sure that you recap your main points. Even if you feel like you're repeating yourself, it's better to repeat yourself than not put anything into a conclusion. It should have your personal response. And I'll just make a point here of saying this, and I'll write it up. You shouldn't, it should not be written in first person. Yeah, that's okay. This one is the one you have to work on and hand in. We do it, you hand it in to me, I give you loads of feedback. This is the one that is on the day of the test. So when do you do that? That's week 7. Yeah, that's it. No, you have this one. I'll give you a due date for this one. It'll probably be week 6. Actually, let's just say that it will be week 6. Did I?
Yeah, it's the second.
The reason that we do this one is that I mark this one with loads of feedback. I do not mark that one. Right? So if you do well in this, or even if you do terribly in this, but you learn from your feedback and improve it, then you can use a lot of that same information, structure, everything like that. Probably can use the same thesis for that one up there. Does that make sense? So I'm not allowed to, you can't send that assessment task 1 to me ahead of time and go, this, what do you think? I only have feedback on the second. But the second one, you don't get there's no assessment mark. Okay? So you can stuff it up entirely. It's the first one that you actually get. Your mark has 20 that counts towards your assessment. Okay, so I do say that you need to give a personal response, but then I say that you can't write it in first person. How do you do that? If you can't say that I believe that Jesse should not be wearing his headphones, how do I say it without actually using I? Okay, so yeah, that's right. So it's hard, but you're still providing an opinion because you'll say something like Gary's House is an effective example of good Australian theatre. That's still an opinion, isn't it? But you've not said the word I. Right? So as best you can, try and give an opinion without writing it in first person. If you really struggle, you can put it in there. It's just not considered best practice. You won't fail, but you should get used to not doing it. Still writing.
I'm done.
Okay, here's my Barney Simpson sexy paragraph. You know I hate this, but it does work. No, what's his name? Right. Statement, explain, example, evaluate. You don't have to draw the picture of the fun.
Oh, didn't let him would.
S-E-S-E.
Whoa, my hand.
So your statement, and you have done this before, consider it a recap because it's really, really important that you know it. So statement should have a topic sentence. In brackets, I do want you to write from column 1 and from column 2 and from column 4 down the bottom. I will show you what I mean by that in a minute. Just write it if you can just trust me on that one. Yeah, you need to write all of it. So, you can use the word firstly if that helps. So you can say, firstly, I believe this about Oswald. Secondly, etc. And then thirdly, that will be your 3 paragraphs. Eventually, you'll find you can just minus the word firstly and the sentence still makes sense. Right? So if you say, firstly, Oswald uses the house to create the breakdown of relationships, if you take out firstly, it still makes sense. It's just the way you are structuring in your mind. You would have learned that in primary school. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, that's the way you create a persuasive argument. Explain, you've got to address the verb in your second sentence. In our case, it's how. So you have to be mentioning a technique, a dramatic technique. And then you're just basically explaining your main point further. You're just expanding on it. Examples, you need quote, technique, effect, and meaning. And that comes from column 2. I would say if people like numbers on these sorts of things, so I'm going to do it. It's not exactly helpful later on, but you need a minimum of 2 quotes and techniques per paragraph. And if you've got 3 paragraphs in an essay, how many quotes and techniques do you need? Yeah, at least.
So does that mean you need 2 quotes, 2 techniques, or is it like 1 quote and 1 technique?
2
So
quotes.
2 of each.
2 of all. And ideally, they're building upon your main point. They're not the contents of Sue Ann's bag and then the quote from Violent Russell. It's like the contents of Sue Ann's bag and then later on when Christine's reading the baby book or something like that. So that you can actually build on your ideas throughout the course of the lesson. And then evaluate at the end of the paragraph. It's 1 sentence. You can, if it helps, just come back to the thesis. In fact, there should be a bit of your thesis in here too. Work with me now. I know this may seem a bit confusing. In practicality, it is quite effective. It's a bit of a formula, I know. And ideally, when you're doing Year 12 and you're walking into the HSC exam, you can kind of abandon all formula and just write fluently and well. But in your 11 standard, I plead to you that you just stick to this formula because it's effective. But make sure that you tick all of the right boxes. Make sure sure that your essay has covered everything I may expect. Okay, turn your assessment task over. This is more or less the same one. At all, ever. Borrow mine. Actually. Okay, so you know how I said column 1, column 2, blah, blah, blah? Right, that's what this refers to. So, if you don't mind, if everyone's got this in front of them, can I just go back a slide so you can see what I'm talking about? So make sure that at least there's one between the two of you. Yeah. So, your statement should come from this column. This column on your table is going to have a description of what the thematic concern is all about. Someone give me a thematic concern, aka theme, from Gary Tuck. Anything. Commitment? Yep. Abandonment? Yep. What about relationships? Good. So you would expect because that's the same thing in both of them, that this would want to be on either commitment and abandonment or just on relationships. Okay. More or less the same thing. Right? Then, so you'll have in this column a whole description about what the theme is and how it's evident in the text and how it relates to different characters. In this column, you put all of your quotes so that in the exam you don't have to remember the quote. And in this column, it's got technique and effect. I usually do it so that it combines, so it just has a bit more room to fit it all in, but it doesn't really matter. So, examples is from these two. So, quote, technique, effect. Quote, technique, effect. Right? That's what we'll be doing. And then evaluate is how successful the composer has achieved it, and that is covered in that. So, if you're writing one paragraph, you would have everything you need within this box. And if you have 3 boxes, effectively, you then have 3 paragraphs. But how many boxes, how many tables are you allowed to bring into the text? 1, right? So, ideally, you do 1 per theme. You do 1 on commitment, 1 on abandonment, and 1 on breaking the cycle, for example. But you only have 1. So you want to be a bit clever about how much you put into the one you're taking into the exam. Like calling it relationships, you could kind of have like subcategories. Alright? So just, yeah, I know I've just given you like a whole lot of information. And you weren't here when we went through the assessment task, so that doesn't help. You get to take this table with all of it pulled out into the exam. So it becomes like a cheat sheet. So if you've already had an email that I've looked at it, you've got a description of what the theme is about, you've put in quotes from the play, you've put in techniques from the play, and then you've evaluated how successful the composer is at it, and that it should relate to relationships, which then relates to wait, isn't that focus on idea of relationships and relationships.
Wait, so is this only one paragraph? So we're doing an essay in class, and this is only one meet.
That's only one meet. But because
But the other two
I'm
meets
giving you
are-
a bit of a hint, like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Put as many quotes in here as you can.
Oh, like so we can remember that because we're not allowed to bring Gary's house into it. Oh, that's
Yeah, yeah. So the point is that you don't actually have to memorize anything. So the test isn't about memorizing quotes. The test is about how well you can write an essay.
okay. So there's only one meet.
It should be only one meet,
But you're gonna.
but yeah, but this is we need a few more quotes to take in.
So what do we want example? Oh, okay.
Yeah, more or less. So I want to teach you the proper way, but I also want you to be able to get the most amount of marks in the test as well. Okay. This is a band 5 response from Year 12 standard. It's a very long paragraph, but I wanted to read it to you as an example of what like the end goal is. Okay? Don't think that you have to write like this now. This is something that would be the end goal. Okay? And actually, the reason why it's probably a band 5, not a band 6, is the paragraph itself is a bit long. It's a bit too long. But I'll read it to you. I'll colour coordinated so you can see statement, explain, examples, and evaluation. We actually studied Billy Elliot in Year 12, so that's why I've given you this. A successful transition into the world is dependent on a determination to achieve one's dreams and therefore overcome potential barriers. That's their thesis, that's their statement, that's their topic sentence. I'm sure we could probably work out even what the question was about. It's probably about overcoming barriers or something like that. Then, explain. In Billy Elliot, ideas of support, respect, love, persistence are portrayed as being essential to Billy in overcoming the obstacles of a chauvinistic mining community as he attempts to move into the world. The elective is called into the world. So that's why they do this. Don't worry about the actual information, just look at how it functions structurally. Through the repetition technique, between mid-shots, film technique, of Billy trying to land his pirouette and repetitions of prepared quotes. See how short that quote is? Not worth, that's fine. From Ms. Wilkinson, Daldry, that's the director, successfully illustrates Billy's determination to master each aspect of the ballet, as well as depicting the support he has from Ms. Wilkinson. Also demonstrated in the scene, so second example, where Billy expresses his frustration with his father not supporting his dreams, through dance he illustrates his determination and his persistence. The scene is frantic and loud and uses diegetic sound, film technique of Billy's boots as he furiously dances, exemplifies his intense passion. Additionally, the close-up of his feet as he kicks down a door metaphorically demonstrates the breakdown barriers. The scene concludes with Billy pirouetting down the street and dancing into a tin wall. The diegetic sound of Billy smashing into the wall several times portrays his determination to dance. So that is a very technique-heavy paragraph, only one quote though. So I think that would be okay. Despite this moment of tryout, barriers still exist, which prevent him from moving completely into the new world as he lacks the support of his family. Billy's struggle to overcome such barriers effectively demonstrates, so effectively, yes, how effective is it? It's effective. Effectively demonstrates to the audience the way in which many people overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges resulting in growth and change. So, if you take one thing from it, see how nice and clear each component is. You almost guess that the essay was about overcoming barriers. You guess that that's probably what the essay question was, and there's lots of techniques and lots of examples in order to prove their point. We don't walk away from that going, what was that about? You pretty well know it's about overcoming barriers. Okay. I thought we could begin by completing a table as an example. So This one is on breaking the cycle. I've done this one slightly this one I prepared earlier. I've done part of this for you. You don't have to use those quotes and techniques, but you can. But I will help you by giving you the thematic concern. So do I need to make that a little bit bigger? Can you read it? Yeah, into the column 1. Yeah. So I'll read it as you write it. Come on, wake up.
Wait, so what was I going on the test?
I'll get you a nice clean one.
Ah.
Do you have a blank one that I can write on?
Maybe.
There's no way I can do that in there.
I only got loose paper.
There's no way I can fit that in here.
Did you get your book yesterday?
Look, I drew earlier.
It's not, I was fucking early.
I'm saying a mullet. No, that's the it's going to turn to dark stuff.
Like 3 times.
That's what we would like.
That's exactly what he looks
So
like.
we're doing that.
Right. That's
They're just like, okay, no,
the
here's the pay
We'll have to draw it up. Just turn your page sideways.
Yeah.
You can use my copy as I how to do it, but that's the handwriting. I'll read it with you so that you can. Is it helpful if I read it out loud, or is that just annoying because you're up to a different point? It's probably annoying. Just copy it down. No, like my writing. Oh, okay. Just it'll be fine. Just be as best you can. That's good. I'm saying you can write small because then you'll know how to fit it into the text as well. Yeah. Someone say something. Okay, well, up to you, but I will be because you probably won't be able to take this one.
I won't be able to finish this.
are starting to burn.
You cycle.
It goes to the next node, and then that goes to the expansion. The cable is like one cable that goes up to all the houses. So it's like, well, if with edit filter plus, it's just that you have increased cable speed, regardless of whether it's peak or peak. With cable, it's peak, you're slower because it's
I reckon she's a video.
yeah, you can't get that big and so big.
Basically to stop people from doing it in like 5-6 fonts.
Yeah, you can do that.
This is the only test you're allowed to bring it in. All the other ones you have to memorize.
So if we come in with like chords written down high on the
I
page,
get 0. And I personally catch someone every time.
I've never.
Don't put it below your skirt line.
What's wrong with skirts? That's a good quote, this one. Hang on, did I spell that?
Exactly on this.
Spelled that right. What about like a UV light?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the UV cannons and it's like shining the torch, like, come on.
Evidence that the town.
Oh, it's like chemistry. It's cheating.
Dude.
Yeah, that'd work. Just look, have you ever caught someone, you know, like the pens that you can only see under like the UV light?
Time in class you put that down. And then I'm going to click next and then I want to show you.
Copy it on someone else.
But I'm not
No, have you caught anyone doing that yet?
No. But yes, with the, I mean, I shouldn't give you these ideas, but
No, I'm not
yes,
gonna
with
cheat,
the
but-
headphone in, you know, long hair.
Headphones.
Classic.
Well, they've recorded it and they're listening to it. Sneaky.
That's dumb.
Do try it.
Yeah, like you got. I can't do that. I don't have any hair.
Or the pencil case trick.
I'm trying it
A
out.
piece of paper with your pencil. And then you just go and just go with the pencil.
I don't like.
No, what you do is you hide it inside the pen.
No, what?
Tattoo it to the inside of your eyelids. I think you wrote the formulas on your pencil.
On my pencil. But you could hardly see it because it's engraved. And no one can realize that.
We have like 7 different pencils engraved with formulas.
That was in the yearly.
That was in the years. We can get classes going on engraving formulas into that pencil.
Once you've written down the quotes, then you can have a go at the technique and the effects. Hank, do you think they could pay for
It's cheating.
chill?
Speaking it out.
I think he really felt abandoned, and like he was abandoned as well. But like his parents abandoned him. He really struggled with foster parents.
I know, but like died. Oh my! You haven't read the book? That's it. I'll bring it up. What is it? No, I don't understand. Like she always thought she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that she was actually going to. And I hated the ending. That annoyed me so much. I don't even know how that annoyed me. I was just like, why did I like, wait a second. Why did they have to put it at the end? Like, what did it like? No, it's a spirit. Yes. Yeah.
It's meant to be overtly theatrical. It's a very theatrical ending to a really so it gives it closure, I think.
That doesn't need closure, just make me do like some like motherfucker who tricks everyone who's dead. Sorry, miss.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, everyone didn't actually die.
This new episode kind of thing.
No, he died, and then his spirit lived on into the house because he's.
Oh, it's like a ghost. It's not really meant to be a ghost, but it's a way of putting it. Think about the fact that it looks
It's showing that everything is.
I'm halfway through second.
think about
Oh, what?
something like Sin City or some film where it's not real, but it still creates a effect, right? It's not meant to be real. The ending
Good luck
is not
reading
meant
that.
to be realistic. It's meant to be. Well, you could see it that way. The listing task that we're going to listen to.
I hate them.
Did he put himself in the house?
Yeah, so it says, read the end of that one. That's what I was handing. Yeah, it's kind of
Are those first three quotes all with the first paragraph?
Good question. I want to answer that question, but I want everyone to hear the answer. So what I'll do is just wait till everyone's finished copying it down, and then I'll answer.
I want to know where to write it in relation to. Does it matter if it's not connected to the next one?
No, they're not connected. It's all to do with the one point.
I was going to say, if this is how much room I get for like the whole assignment, I'll be right. But then I'll get to the action.
This is the stage directions. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not.
The last and fourth one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Montel.
I can't read half of that. So messy.
Why is the house capitalized?
There's pretty much nothing on each level. It's one character. And you do find them. Okay. Thank you. Should we just do the technique and then we'll leave it there? Actually, maybe it might be more important to answer your question. Come back to it. Alright. So, in the HSC, what will be your question for the HSC in 2016? Does anyone know? What's your question? No, you don't know the question.
Isn't it something about the journey?
No, you can't know the question. Right. So no one knows the question of what will be in your HSC, and no one knows the question of what will the questions for trial, except for your teachers. So you walk into those exams needing to be prepared for the whole play. You walk into this assessment task, you know exactly what the questions are, right? So you don't necessarily need to cover every aspect of Gary's house in the notes. But in the HSC, you do. So this table is teaching you how to prepare notes on the whole thing, and then you've got 2 more things that you could possibly be asked a question on. You're told that it's on relationships. You're in a good spot because you know exactly what quotes you need and what to prepare for. So you don't need all of these quotes in your paragraph. But if you didn't know what you were going to put in your paragraph, if you didn't know what was in your question, then you would need to learn that whole table so that you would be prepared for any question. You need to know more than the quotes that you're going to actually use. Does that make sense? Yeah. So technically, per one of them, you only need 2. You only need 6 quotes or something like that for your entire essay. But if you didn't know what the essay question was on, then you would need a lot more because you need to be able to pick them depending on what the question is. You get told 3 things. You don't get told anything. You can look at past papers and you can look at what's been asked before. You can look at the module and you can look at the elective just the same as you would with the syllabus and any other thing, and they will take questions from that. So if there's a heavy focus on relationships or change or transition, then you're going to go, okay, well, I'll prepare a lot on that sort of stuff, but I'm just ready for anything. Yep. So what I'm teaching you, hopefully, is how to study. Because once you've filled out those tables and you've got 3, then you will be ready for any essay question. And we're going to do those tables for every single play, book, poem, film that we've done. Alright? And I will mark them and I will look at them so that you know exactly how to do them, so that next year all you have to do is memorize tables rather than memorize the whole play. Good. Well, we don't really know what time the bell's going to go in this crazy establishment.